Good evening and welcome to this council meeting on this May 3rd. First item on the agenda would be to call the roll, and actually you don't need to do that. All the council are present. So we would move to our invocation with John Pulsifer from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. John, if you would come forward. Welcome.
Thank you. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful today to be here in this meeting. At this historic and pivotal time in our city's history, as we come out of a pandemic, as we battle raging real estate prices and search for homes for those who have been displaced, we realize that we stand on the shoulders of giants who have served in the city council and mayors before. And at this time, Father, as the city council has such an opportunity to, with the Lake District closing soon, with extra tax dollars coming under their purview, and many opportunities to guide this city during their tenure as servants to the people, we pray for a blessing upon them. Please bless them, Father, that as they serve, their service will be appreciated, and that as they take time from their families and their professions, that they may feel benefit and peace and satisfaction as they do their best. We appreciate them for what they do, and we pray that the city will continue to be brought together through healing of divisions that may exist. That we may all be united in our civility and in our efforts to promote the best for the city. We pray for and ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Woody, would you lead us in the pledge, Steve?
I'd be honored. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have at least one amendment to the agenda, and that is that the audit report will not be presented tonight. It will be presented at another time. And I have a proclamation.
Mr. Mayor?
Are there other? Yes, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make another amendment to the agenda. I would like to remove item number I-4 from the agenda, which is the approval of purchase of a dump truck for the Streets and Engineering Department through Arpa funds. And I will explain my reasoning if I get a second.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that for discussion.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council made a decision earlier this year regarding the ARPA funding that we would hold a workshop where Council would review various items and requests for the ARPA funding, and that workshop has not taken place. Therefore, I feel this item would be more appropriately presented at that meeting and not tonight.
Other discussion?
Well, Mr. Mayor, he's right. We did say we would have a workshop. We have yet to have one. I'm not saying I'm opposed to the purchase, but just the process. We said we would have a workshop.
Okay.
I tend to agree. We actually approved acceptance of the funds, but not actually each individual line item. So this seems like it's not a budgeted item yet.
Right.
My only other thought with it is if it is something that has to be brought forward for a timing issue, and we don't have the workshop scheduled, I'd hate to miss an opportunity. So
That's
that
a
leaves
good
me
point.
kind of in a yes and a no vote at the same time.
Woody?
Do you think it may be appropriate to ask the department head what his planning was to bring that forward, knowing he has to know this too, right? That we're going to do a workshop?
Troy, would you like to do that, or would you ask Todd?
Good evening. Let me provide a little background. We had scheduled a workshop and spoke about ARPA dollars and had presented a packet to you. The workshop did not go as a collaborative get-together, so we've accepted the funds. And the reason it's coming to you tonight is totally because of the timing, so as to be able to look at what we've provided you in the past, simultaneously get the truck with the plow in a time frame that would deliver it so it could be used to plow snow. So yes, we did peel this one off because we have secured a dollar amount that is only good for a certain period of time. Todd would do a much better job of speaking to it. So that's why it's come to you, because of its time-sensitive nature.
Todd, would you like to address the council?
Probably not.
While he's making his way up here, Troy, is there anything on that list that was presented to us originally that's not a time-sensitive issue?
That's a great question. I would suggest that most of the items will have a time sensitivity. This one is one of the biggest ones and also has the gigantic increases taking place since we had hoped to get together to talk about this. And so we've secured an opportunity, thanks to Todd and his team, to have a truck that we have. Please hold for us as we come to you to look to tie it up. Todd's done some checking, and we're finding that the prices continue to escalate.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. So basically, the price has gone up in the last 4 months, about $20,000, and they keep going up. There's also shortages of the truck, so Freightliner of Spokane. We started negotiating this back when Wastewater ordered their truck. Our truck is different. It's a heavier truck. That's why it costs so much more. So this has been going on since November. They've been holding a cab and chassis for us since then. They've given me till Friday the 6th to pull the pin on it and say either we are going to get the truck or we have to order out of next year's fleet. Right now, if we order now, they're saying we should have the truck by 1st of January, mid-January at the latest. If we wait and order next year out of the 23, 24 models, they're forecasting 1.5 years to get the truck. We buy the truck, we sign the dotted line today, we don't pay for it until we take purchase of the truck, but that's the urgency of this. They've held it this long. We just need to make a decision and go forward with it. So do you want my whole presentation or wait till later?
No.
That's my explanation.
Any questions for Todd? Yes.
Well, wait. Let's talk about the motion as opposed to the dump truck. So removing the item from the agenda means we're not making that decision tonight. So right now, the decision for council is to remove this item from the agenda, to urge staff to hold a workshop as soon as possible so these things can be addressed. Not about the dump truck right now.
Right.
Wanted to ask Troy, so this was on our original list, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm really conflicted with it, I'm for the dump truck very much. And come about mid-January, if we don't do this, and we're going to have folks, and if we happen to have a real winter, we've kind of been fortunate for a couple of years. On the other hand, I absolutely agree with the whole concept of the workshop, and there's some other high priorities, and this is a big ticket item. I guess the question, and I think it is germane to this decision, is when could we have a workshop? And well, I guess you're saying that we got to do something before this Friday.
Yeah, I need
If we're
to
gonna secure-
sign a contract basically that says we want the truck, we're gonna purchase the truck, yeah.
No other question?
I think there's one other question that should be asked, and of our city administrator, and that is, because there has been such a long period of time before a truck has been, prior to a truck being purchased, is there money other than the ARPA money that is available to reserve this truck? You wouldn't actually be paying for it, actually, until the next budget year. Good point.
Correct. We could use fund balance for that, but either way, it's not an appropriation that you've approved. And as you have coached us, we bring it forward so that we can talk about it. The way that the rest of the items are going to flow through was to come to you through the budget workshop process. We'll asterisk those items that are ARPA dollars so that you can look at all of that, just as we had spoken about, so that you have an opportunity to look at the whole budget, look at what is designated as ARPA funding.
So
So-
you're doing that even before we have the workshop? You're still going to
Well,
be
so
doing ARPA things?
relative to the motion on the floor, perhaps the item might stay, but then the decision to be made about purchasing the truck, you would also make a decision about where those funds come from, because I know I committed to you that no funds would be spent for, other than for the PD, until we had an opportunity to hear those priorities and discuss them and provide our own priorities.
You okay with that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I think we want to get the truck, obviously, so that's the way to go.
All right, with motion withdrawn.
Okay?
So clarification, do we need to somehow still remove it from the fact, I mean, it's not going to be paid with ARPA funds?
Well, we can talk about that when we get to it, yes. So I almost skipped the next item, and that is a proclamation. This is a proclamation regarding mental health. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's health and well-being, and whereas approximately 1 in every 5 adults are challenged by a mental health condition, and whereas all people experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, whereas effective support and treatment to those individuals can create recovery and lead to full, productive lives, whereas every citizen community can make a difference in breaking down the barriers of the stigma that for too long have surrounded mental health illness and discouraged people from getting help, and whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen share the burden and responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts and counter stigmatization. Now, therefore, I, James Hammond, Mayor of the City of Coeur, do hereby proclaim this month of May 2022 as Mental Health Awareness Month, and I encourage all citizens to envision a community where people affected by mental illness live healthy, fulfilling lives, supported by a city that cares. And is Clark here?
I'm here. Yeah.
Great.
Mayor Hammond, would you be able to take a quick picture with most of our boards here
Oh,
too?
there's Clark.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let me present you with the proclamation.
Thank you.
Where's the proclamation? What did you want to do?
We can get could we get a picture of you and our board?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Amen.
We have Don, we have two more coming up. Two more coming up.
Which side do you want back there? Come on, balanced over here.
Hi.
Thanks very much.
We have two people signed up for public comment. The first one is, okay. The
wasn't me.
second
I didn't
one-
write that.
Did you do that?
Why would I do something like that?
One of our councilmen put Seymour Butts on here, so. Deborah Rose?
I made up that one, too.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My address shows that I live in Athol, but I do own investment properties in Coeur d'Alene, so I do get affected by decisions you all make. I've been involved with the government in this county for decades, and I've attended many government meetings and been involved, and I've not seen such lack of civility and lack of decorum and disrespect and hostility from public commenters as I have, especially in this last year. I would like to encourage you to consider putting a restriction on public comments to what is on your agenda, and that might limit some of that.
Thank you. And we are working on that issue, and that is one of the considerations.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Announcements from the council? Yes, Kiki.
Just a note that the library is fully open, and they had been working on changing hours recently in the last few months, and the reports are coming back that their trimming up is being very well received. So I'm happy that they're being responsible in managing that budget that way, and it's providing full services. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that my mother, who lives in another state, oftentimes checks up on me by watching live stream on Facebook. And so I wanted to say, Mom, I mailed your Mother's Day card late, but I love you, and have a happy Mother's Day this Sunday to everyone else, too.
Thank you. Yes,
Amy.
oh, sorry.
I just have one quick announcement, and that is we have some openings for service opportunities on the Arts Commission.
Yay.
So if anybody knows of anybody who's interested in contributing a couple hours a month to help on the Arts Commission, all the information is available on our website.
Thank you. And we do encourage people to apply for those positions. Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I know it's been really slow around the city, but I do want to talk about invocations. And one of the things that happened to me when I was first elected was that a couple of people approached me and say, you know, I'm kind of uncomfortable with the invocations taking place during a council meeting because I feel I'm compelled to participate in something that's religious that I don't believe in. And I asked the mayor at the time, and there was no desire to change the invocations. And then I asked the new mayor if there was any a desire not only to change them, but to shake it up a little bit, to have some other denominations come in and give the invocation like they do in Congress. And there was no desire to change. And then I asked this mayor about it too. Same kind of thing with the invocations. I really think it's a topic, obviously, that's of a lot of interest to people out there. We've gotten a lot of emails in the past few weeks regarding this, both pro and con. So I think it's about time that we had a discussion about it to see what we should do, if anything, regarding the invocations. And I would like to, I don't know, yeah, I was right. New rules, I have to make a motion. So I will make a motion
Not
to,
necessarily, I can direct staff.
and I will ask you if you could direct staff to hold a meeting, an item on the agenda where we can discuss invocations. I would also like to hear feedback from our legal department to find out what our latitude is and what our exposure is regarding invocations. And I'd like it to take place in June, if I could. I met with Pastor Van Noy, and he wants to discuss this issue too. So I think he's out of town later this month, which means he would be available in June.
I would be happy to direct staff to do that for one of our June meetings, please.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mr. Mayor?
Christie.
Thank you. Well, I would just like to say that today was my very last day at North Idaho College. After 18 years, myself and Ken Howard have officially resigned, and on Friday, they'll pick 3 new trustees. I'm very excited for the college and the future moving forward, but I have much more time to focus on the city, so that's what I'll be doing.
I think she wants to be on more committees.
No, I'm good.
Councilman Wood, thank you very much for all those years that you have put in as a member of the Board of Trustees. Thank you for your willingness to stand up for what you believe in, and you've shown a lot of courage and integrity, and we certainly are very proud to serve with you and appreciate that service all those years. Thank you for beating your opponent in that first election.
It was him.
So,
Yeah, I don't
the
know.
only election I ever lost. Well, she is a lot prettier, so I can't. So, anyway, we very much appreciate all that
Thank you.
service and all the time that you put in for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. Whoever brought the flowers, thank you very much. I'm not sure who they're from, but thank you.
Dan?
Well, just to follow up on comments you made and our audience participation about people speaking to agenda, or it's got to be on the agenda or not, and maybe somewhat like the prayer issue, this is something that, I mean, would be good for an agenda discussion item. I really struggle with the idea of of limiting people to only talking about something on the agenda. To me, some of the best stuff we've done is, not the big high-profile exotic, but when somebody had an issue with, the neighbor's fence or this or that or something, and able to, one thing, just for them to be heard, they got to be heard, and then often the mayor or somebody would direct them, and one of the staff would connect with them. But I think that it warrants a good, a deep discussion, whatever, if we're really going to put some side rails on that. So, again, hopefully, if we're going to do something different, that could be something in a action item discussion.
You bet. Anything else? I heard on the radio this morning that it is Teacher Week as well. And so I would like to give a shout out to all the teachers that serve our community, particularly to TJ, Jessica, and Virginia, my son, and my 2 daughters-in-law. But teaching can be really tough. Even just having the opportunity to use the restroom when you want isn't a privilege that teachers have. But in this day when education has come under fire from so many different fronts, I want to applaud all teachers who serve our community. Bless them, and thank you for all that you do, teachers. I have 2 appointments before you tonight. One is Skip Priest for the Design Review Commission, and Amy Evans to the Ignite Coeur d'Alene Board. I have reviewed their resumes and think they are great appointments to those 2 positions and will serve the city well. I would appreciate your support.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed with nay. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
More meetings.
Okay, the next item before you is the consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, will the clerk take the roll, please?
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes?
McEvers,
Yes.
Googan,
Aye.
English,
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
I said aye. I did say
Thank you. Next item is Resolution 22018 regarding a change order on the Kathleen Avenue widening project. And our city engineer, Chris Bosley, will present that. Chris?
Thanks, Mayor and Council. I'll try to make my presentations brief since I'll be up here for 4 in a row. It's hard to keep track of which one I'm presenting on first here, but I got the right one. So, Kathleen Avenue project, we're happy to say that we started construction a couple weeks ago on that, and things are moving well as planned. We have a bit of traffic snarls, of course, because it is a very difficult location to be working in, but we're getting through it, and we're happy with the progress we've made. As a reminder, the project overview is this section of Kathleen Avenue between US 95 and Government Way. We're putting sidewalks in on both sides, and then widening an additional eastbound lane over to Government Way that will become a turn lane there. But as we were getting into construction, we started really thinking about this area down here towards 95. And with all this new pavement we plan on putting in, we thought that it would be a shame if we left out a little bit here. It actually goes a little further than that. But it's a very difficult place to be paving. It would be something that they're planning on paving at night anyway, so that's really going to help. We'll just be able to close down the street. But since the contractor's in the area doing the work, we thought this would be a great time to get a change order to overlay the entire corridor or this segment so that it all looks new. I went out there and took a couple photos for your reference, and this is what the pavement looks out there near US 95. And we don't want that to be right next to our brand-new pavement, so that's why I'm asking you tonight to approve this change order. And then I also thought while I was up here, I'd take an opportunity to show you the work that we've done out there. And if you remember, I came before you and talked about these R tanks for stormwater that we're installing on the streets of Crown and Royal, just north of Kathleen. Well, they are like milk crate looking items, and here's our crews assembling them in the shop and stacking them up. We put them all on a trailer and hauled them out there, and then we rented some large equipment to do these large excavations, and then this is a borrowed compactor from the water department that to compact the soil underneath, and then put down the filter material, which is sand with, I think, a 3% compost, a very small amount of organic matter that goes in there. And then here we are loading the crates in there, the R tanks, and then we wrap them all in fabric. This is a maintenance port right here that will be flush with the ground. We'll have a manhole lid on that so we can get in there and jet it out and suck it out if it gets clogged up from stormwater. And there we are putting the final gravel on it, and now it's all covered so you can't see anything out there, but hopefully it'll be blacktop soon or asphalt soon. So, back to my original question is I'm requesting that you approve the change order to sell in construction for the Kathleen Avenue project to overlay the entire area, not just the part we're focusing on. And I would stand for any questions.
Questions? Woody?
So, how much money
That was my question.
and where's it coming from?
This is about $100,000, and we are taking this money from our overlay fund. So we have $750,000 per year about that is dedicated to overlays and chip seals. Last year, we didn't use the entire amount. We did two big projects, Government Way and Ramsey, and then we used the leftover money for this project to because it carries over, so we were able to use that overlay funding to extend this project a little bit further.
Thanks.
Other questions? Dan?
No, that was my question, so, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the resolution.
Wait a minute, I do have a question,
Oh, sorry.
if I may.
You're the boss.
Because of the location, is there not any way to get some ITD cost sharing on that?
They pretty much stop their jurisdiction at the crosswalks.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't
All
think
right.
that's
that's all I need
a
to
fight worth fighting.
Go ahead, Woody.
Oh, I'd like to move to approve Resolution 22018, approving change order 1, which hopefully there won't be a 2, to the agreement with Selman Construction for the Kathleen Avenue Widening project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion on the motion.
No discussion, Mr. Mayor, but I would like to say I'm really happy that this is getting done. That is a terrible, terrible intersection, and
Yeah.
this is going to make it so much better.
Would the clerk take the roll, please?
Miller.
Aye.
McEvers.
Yes.
Gookin.
Yep.
English.
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Chris, I'll share with you that I'll get some pictures for you on another street we've talked about.
Right.
Uh-oh.
I can only guess.
Go ahead.
So my second request today, which has a Part A and a Part B to it, is regarding the La Crosse Avenue Swale Project, or the La Crosse Avenue Improvement Project or extension. What we're trying to do is construct another swale to remove storm water that enters the Spokane River. This right here is the drainage area that drains down, and this is the swale right down here at Bella Reeve. There's a photo of that, the outfall, not swale. Here's a photo of the outfall behind the boardwalk, that is the public boardwalk down there. And if you remember, years ago, the Four Corners BLM Corridor Master Plan, this area is that area that we're looking to put the swale, and there's a water quality demonstration project that was called out for that. So we've worked with the BLM and got their approval to move forward with this because it is in the plan that they had adopted. This is an overview here of the La Crosse project, and so today that is open for public use. We had it closed as we were waiting for temperatures to get warm enough to stripe it all, but people kept moving the gates out of the way and using it anyway, so we asked the contractor just to open it up and let people use it. So the parking lot is not open because they're still doing a little bit of work around that area, but the road is open to through travel. And so this area right here is the BLM corridor that I was talking about. Well, with the exception of this northeastern portion of it that is Active West property. And so what we had envisioned, with this being Active West property right here, this whole area of the north of the BLM corridor, these are contour lines of a swale that was designed, and the outfall that runs through there can be detoured into that swale and take all that water diverted from the Spokane River. And just to put some numbers to this, Woody, because you were always asking me about how much water we're talking about. Well, this is about 60 acres, which I've mentioned acres before, but this time I went through the math on this and looked at average precipitation in Coeur d'Alene and then put some numbers to that. So we're looking at about 40 million gallons a year that we'd be removing from the Spokane River and putting it into the swale here. So, so there are two parts to this ask today. The first one is for you to approve a change order with La Riviere Incorporated, who's doing the work out there today, finishing up the project. I'm asking you to approve this change order for them to build the swale. The money would come from mostly from leftover Ignite funding that was left over from the project because we didn't spend all of the $1.8 million that they had dedicated to the project. They have given us approval to use the remaining funds on that, but to make it whole, we need to have this agreement with Active West, who has the property next door, and to remove or to use some of our money that was budgeted in the drainage utilities budget for this project itself. So there's approximately $67,000 of additional funding that we would need to take from our drainage budget, which we had $160,000 budgeted for this and have only spent $51,000 so far. And then approving the change order would allow them to move forward. We've been talking about this since January, but there was a lot of design and back and forth with it all. And so what we're trying to do is move forward to use this Ignite money before it disappears at the end of September, and use that to use our money to leverage that money to complete this. And this, as you talked earlier about time sensitivity, that is the reason why we need to move forward with this as a change order and just get this portion done, or it'll be something that we'll probably just put on the shelf and wait till a future date when we can get to it.
Chris, does the approval of the agreement with Active West need to be done first?
Well, they're kind of together. The way that it was put in the agenda was that agreement was Part B, I believe. No, it was A. I have them backwards then. All right, there, it's fixed.
Does it matter, though?
Well, they need to happen simultaneously.
Okay.
So if we don't have the money from Active West, the agreement for $50,000 from them, then we would have to pull that extra money from our drainage utility budget, and we'd rather not do that.
So before we make a motion, why don't you go ahead and share that agreement, and then the council can act on both motions.
Okay, so I don't have slides for that because it's all kind of the same thing, but what we've worked on here with Active West, since they have the property next door, and they've already given us somewhere around $70,000 prior because of a sewer line that's running through their property that helps feed their property also. So we had an agreement with them for that. This one is pretty much an exchange of material. So they have a bunch of material stockpiled on their site, and then they have a big hole down at the end of their site. Well, the material that's stockpiled on their site is good material. We have a lot of bad material that, just waste material from other projects that we can fill their hole on their end of the property that isn't great for development down there where they don't plan on putting houses or anything, and then trade material back and forth. We've got that approved by BLM, and they're also getting some topsoil off of their property to put in the bottom of the swale when it's all done. And so we have convinced Active West that it is in their best interest to partner with us on this so that we can make this abandoned railroad corridor look more aesthetic like the park that it was intended to be. So we're asking for approval of this agreement so we can get the $50,000 from Active West and the and our drainage utility money to go towards this change order. Hope I didn't make it too confusing.
Okay. Questions? Woody?
So is this going to be grassy swales, mow, blow, fertilize, water, or are they going to be more natural like the ones that you guys just built?
It will be, so the 95 swale that we just built, we use dryland grass seed there. We've had some trouble with it germinating, but we will get through that. But this will be similar with a dryland grass seed that the Parks Department won't have to worry too much about mowing. Just as Bill Greenwood says, knock it down a couple times a year. But we're trying to make it as low maintenance as possible, but make it aesthetic park looking also. And the difference between this one and the 95 swale was that one was a very utilitarian looking, 4 basins. This is trying to look more like a river type thing, just to make it more natural in the landscape down there.
Are you going to have beaches on that?
What's that?
Are you going to have beaches along there?
Well, if the grass doesn't take, maybe it'll end up being that way.
A nice sandy beach would be fun. You're not irrigating though, right?
No, not irrigating.
Thank you.
Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chris, you mentioned for the funding there would be Ignite money. Can you explain what that means?
So at the beginning of this project, Ignite granted us $1.8 million to complete this project. That wasn't the total project amount. We've got water, wastewater, and stormwater money that was already dedicated to this project. But when we got to this point of the project where we're near completion, we hadn't used up all of the $1.8 million of Ignite's funding. So we went to them, I went to them and asked if we could use that to finish the swale project, and they agreed to let us use the rest of that, but it isn't enough to take us to the finish line. That's why we're getting creative with more partnerships with the developer and money of our own.
Okay, so this was their funding for the street, but it's basically, you're saying it was designed for the street, and now we're going to put it in the swale.
They had given us approval for the entire project, not just the street,
Okay.
because the project also included rough grading for soccer fields and for pickleball court and the parking lot down there.
But we don't have enough money for that?
No, we do.
We do, okay.
The pickleball court and the soccer fields are rough graded. That's all that the Parks Department wanted at this point. The parking lot is done with the exception of some striping that needs to be done, and I don't think the lights are powered up yet.
So the request was simply because this was not mentioned specifically when you originally asked for it?
No, so Ignite has given us approval. I'm asking you for approval, well, of the change order with
Right.
Riviere to utilize that money, which is complicated with all these other agreements that need to go on. But if we don't move forward, then we'll be returning the money to Ignite.
Don't want that to happen.
Well, I think the best part of this is you're not just treating stormwater from the area, it's up above Northwest Boulevard too, all that water that flows down into that area that you're treating as well.
Correct.
And taking out of the river. Other questions? Yes, Dan?
Well, just to confirm from being on Ignite too, that, this is part of that whole package of the La Crosse, the new intersection and the light and going down, and also, and I'm glad that this, might end up that it was a little different than some of it was envisioned, but the end result is, we've got the light, we've got the street going through, and if you've ridden the Centennial Trail along, and you get to a point down there where it's like just kind of like blowing brown tumble grass, and now this will be nice green, the whole package. So this sounds like a good deal. And if
Okay.
it's appropriate to combine measure, could I make a motion for
Well,
resolution 19?
Let's do them separately.
Okay.
That'll be more clear.
Then I will make a motion to pass Resolution 22-019 to approve an agreement with Active West LLC for the La Crosse Avenue swale construction.
Second?
You have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk take the roll, please?
Gookin,
Okay.
English,
Yes?
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
McEvers.
Yes.
Then I would make a motion to pass Resolution 22-020 to approve the change order with La Riviera for the La Crosse Avenue swale construction.
Second?
You have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Kiki?
I just wanted to make a comment on this. Oftentimes, and I spoke with Chris about this earlier, and oftentimes I'm questioned about change orders, especially these very large change orders that keep going to the same contractor. And I think Chris pointed out the details of why this is a change order to approve utilizing Ignite's money within this program. And it isn't under the council's purview to have to normally tell Ignite what to do with those funds. So I know we have 2 council members on the Ignite board now, and I hope that we have some good oversight on change orders versus putting projects out to bid when they're appropriate, and I just wanted to make that comment
Thank you.
regarding this one.
Further discussion?
I
Hearing
would
none?
just to then add a little discussion to that. Of course, one thing, there's always going to be I would think, change orders that'll come along. But in particular, what we found with a lot of the projects with Ignite and the main contractor that's been there is because, I mean, they're there right now. They've got their people, their equipment, and often it has ended up saving substantially because of that. So, but that's valid concern.
But often
too.
it doesn't, and often we don't know because we didn't put it out to bid. So I think that public process just needs to be looked at, and that's all I'm asking for. So thank you.
Will the clerk take the roll, please?
McEvers,
Yes.
Gookin.
Yep.
English,
Yes?
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
Okay. Chris, it's all
right.
yours.
I have no presentation for this one, just an ask. And I'm sure you're all interested in this one, but this is for the 15th Street, reconstruction project that we had a consultant on board for about the last 10 years. Hadn't made a whole lot of progress with it, and recently when we tried to put down a firm deadline, they stepped away from the project and said they didn't have the resources to complete the project. We just recently finished our on-call services selection. We put out a RFQ for that, and we have a roster that we can choose engineering and architecture firms from for this type of work. So with that new list, we had chosen TO engineers to help us with this project. And what we wanted to do with this, instead of just moving forward with where some other firm had left off on the project, because it always gets into a weird area there with one consultant not trusting what the other consultant has done. They have to verify all their survey data. Things change over the years. So what we decided to do here was take a step back and do what we're calling a concept validation. And with that, we would be having them take a fresh look at the project, and we've already determined some great improvements we can make with the project. For instance, stormwater, originally conceived prior to me being here at the city as a staff member in the city. The idea was to take all the stormwater and redo the pipes and send it back down to, well, it daylights into ITD's I-90 borrow ditch that eventually goes down to Fernand Creek and down to the lake. So it eventually goes to the lake. Well, we see a lot of opportunities to take that offline by putting in swales where we can, and especially at the Cherry Hill Park area where we've got some frontage there. And we have a lot of different tools we can use to take care of stormwater these days. Another big aspect of this that was probably missed early on in the project is that it crosses a floodplain. The water from the Nettleton Gulch area crosses underneath 15th Street from the east side to the west side, and then goes into that neighborhood near a vista before it comes back out into a pipes. I mean, it's all in pipes, but then comes back out into 15th Street. Well, because it crosses 15th Street there, it's a mapped floodplain by FEMA. And so there are special things you have to do when you're dealing with a floodplain and construction in it. Even if we're not going outside the original road prism, there are steps we have to take. So by stepping back and taking a look at all these things, we're able to incorporate these things, move about it in the right direction, and then also we're going to look for funding for this, because this project is going to be a few $1 million to construct. Hopefully we could get some state or federal funding for that. And if that's the case, we would need to be going and doing some possibly environmental work and public involvement at a minimum. So with this is what we're hoping to do. And so I ask that you approve this contract with TO Engineers for the concept validation of 15th Street reconstruction project, and I would stand for any questions.
Do you know how much we paid the other firm? That basically we're going to eat.
Yes. It is over $120,000 since 2011.
And none of that is of value?
Well, there is the concept that they were working off of, or the preliminary design, is what we're going to move forward with. So there's some there, and TO engineers would be doing limited survey at this point, just to, like I said, validate things, to go out there and spot check things, to make sure that what is in this topographic map that they have is what's in reality.
Questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Woody?
Oh, go ahead. Go, Woody.
Go ahead.
No.
Girls first.
We're probably going to ask the same question. Did you mention the dollar amount for this contract?
Oh, this is $49,900 is the amount.
I just wanted to comment that I love it when you start working with stormwater and looking at different options. As much as I love grassy swales, it's the maintenance is what's hard. But you keep looking at new things, and I think that's what's really important. It's a big street, and you've got the swamp coming down too. So that's good job. Thank you.
Other comments? You have a proposed motion before you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve Resolution 22021, approving the agreement with TO Engineers for conceptual design validation for 15th Street construction.
Second.
You have motion second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk take the roll, please?
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
McEvers,
Yes.
Guggen.
Yep.
Thank you. As painful as this whole thing has been for us, we're very excited to move forward with it again, so thank you.
Pictures are forthcoming, Chris. Okay, now we're going to get back to the item that we were going to pull off the agenda, and instead we're going to talk about. In your presentation, Todd, between you and Troy, talk about whether you have to pay for that all up front or deposit, how that all works, please.
Okay, I can do that. Well, first of all, I would like to just say I agree the timing of this is not the perfect time. However, the age of our fleet, we need to make some changes in how we purchase the vehicles. So that being said, the picture in the background there is the newest truck that the Streets and Engineering Department owns. It's 15 years old. Last year I asked you guys to put it to where we could surplus it. The truck to replace it is still not complete, so we've had to hold on to it. This truck requires a lot of maintenance. Its first 5,000 hours of life when we bought it brand new, we had to go through and service the filter system on it. That costs about $7,000. Every 1,000 hours since then, we've had to spend approximately $7,000 to keep this truck on the road. So when I came to the department, I deemed that we need to get rid of this truck as fast as we can because we could have bought another truck with everything we spent. We have 8 dump trucks that we have in our fleet, 2 of which in the winter months become sanders. So we take the beds off and we put sanding bodies on them. So they are not allowed, they're not used as plow trucks. They are purely for sanding hills and things like that. So that shrinks the number of trucks we have available for plowing. The maintenance cost and the things that we are struggling with our fleet, a lot of the trucks that we currently own, we can't buy new parts for them. We have to go through a junkyard, we go through auctions, we buy a lot of stuff from California. We had a hood get damaged a few years back. We went through a junkyard and we were able to find a hood and we got it painted and put it on the truck. Our fleet has, other than the 15-year-old truck, just for a little history, the next newest truck is 18 years old. Then we move to 2 19-year-old trucks. Then we go to 1 20-year-old truck and 2 21-year-olds and a 22-year-old truck. So that's our fleet. We ask a lot of these trucks. These trucks are used 12 months out of the year. They're the workhorse of our department. In order for us to keep the streets open, we depend on these trucks. I would like to, the means we've been replacing the trucks as of late is we buy used trucks off of GSA auction, things like that. In this current market, decent trucks to buy from a government surplus auction are hard to come by. We're having to buy trucks with over 100,000 miles on them. That doesn't pencil out. I mean, it's going to cost us just as much money to keep those trucks running as the trucks we have. We purchased a truck 4 years ago, 229. It's our biggest dump truck. We spent approximately 6 months rebuilding this truck, making it into something we could use. Every time we really rely on this truck, it breaks down, it sits in the shop. This last year, for instance, it missed the entire Leaf Fest and 2 weeks of the first 2 weeks of December for plowing snow. So that really cripples us. We are not able to buy or to borrow dump trucks from the other departments to plow in the winter months because they are not set up with plows on them. So it's not something we can call water and say, can I borrow your truck? We'll just hook up to a plow. That's something I would like to change in the coming years. I would like to also bring up our ability to provide quality service with these trucks. To me, these trucks are frontline, just like police and fire for public safety. If I can't repair the asphalt, if I can't plow the snow, they can't get to where they need to go to. So it is a big concern of mine. I brought this new truck to you last year in the budget cycle, did ask for a dump truck back then. It was a little bit less money. It was equally amount, it's going to be close to a year of lead time to replace this truck. I was hoping to be able to talk in the budget workshop, and that just didn't work out. So I've been talking to Troy. Every time I see Troy, I bring up the dump truck, and we have great conversation over that. The lead times for these trucks. This truck, Freightliner in Spokane, has held on to this truck. We have to have it built. This truck costs more than like what wastewater has. Wastewater orders a lighter weight truck. We have gotten a truck from wastewater in the past, 223. It is our 22-year-old truck. It's a light frame. The box is light. Last year, the axles aren't as heavy. It missed out on, actually it was 2 years ago, it missed half the winter because we were looking all over the United States for 2 axles to put in the rear end of the truck. So that's why I come to you tonight asking for help. Our dump trucks, we need to start thinking to get some longevity out of them. Buying the used trucks is great, but you're still buying a truck that's equally as old as what we already own. So this, to me, seems like a good opportunity for us to maybe get caught up just a little bit. So the good news, Freightliner has been working with us. They call me about every 2 weeks wanting to know if I have an update, what I can share with them as far as if we're going to purchase one. They had a certain amount of cabin chassis that they have put people's name on for 2023. This would be a 2023 Western Star 47X dump truck with a plow. We are ordering this truck with a plow with a gate on it. Something that's unique about that, we don't have a dump truck plow with a gate on it at this point. That will allow us to provide better service to the folks on Apple Way, Government Way, businesses there where we would be able to gate their driveways, much like what we do in the residential neighborhoods with our front end loaders. This is something new. I know other agencies that use them. They're very effective, and I would love to introduce this to our toolbox. This truck would come with a Wausau plow and the gate, as I brought up. It also, they are saying, since it's being held for us, they have the cabin chassis. It would just need to get built. So they were saying that they should be able to deliver it the first part of January. So being we're ordering it complete, we won't have to do a lot of build to the truck. We'll put emblems on it, maybe a few strobe lights, and then it will be able to get to work. As far as, so the lead time there, the parts, that's the big thing. The availability next year for the same model truck is 1.5 years, they're telling me. You know, I've been watching the market. All of our used vehicles that I purchase for other departments are all starting to have, we just can't find them. So used trucks aren't as affordable as they used to be. For pickups, we're even thinking of looking through government websites that we buy new instead of used because they're the same price. I mean, so the market is definitely changing.
So, Todd, if the council approves this purchase and you call the company and tell them you can buy it, what kind of financial obligation do you have at this point?
So at this point, being we're a municipality, all I need to do is sign the dotted line, and they will build the truck. The day we get the truck, we have 30 days to pay for it.
Okay.
So it would be out of next year's budget, this truck. They've worked really hard with us on this. You know, I like to share the frustrating part, not to go too deep in the weeds, but like this next year, you'll see through our budget conversations, this next year, we have another street sweeper budgeted in the drainage utility. The last sweeper we bought was for approximately $246,000. The new sweeper this next year, at this moment, they're forecasting is $350,000 for the same sweeper. So it's not getting better, so that's why I bring it forward today. So I would take any questions.
Council, questions?
Miss-
Councilman Wood?
Thank you.
Kirsten?
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify then, we could still, at our workshop, we could approve the ARPA funds if we wanted to. Tonight, we're just going to approve him to move forward because he clearly needs the truck. Great, thank you.
Other questions? Woody?
I just have a comment. I was thinking back before you were here, Todd, while you were here, and I remember every time we got in budget problems, it seemed like the street department stepped up and gave up. It was constant, consistent, and it's interesting hearing the history of the old trucks and realizing the use. And you've kind of looked at it with a different perspective, too, of getting the most out of your value. And I think that's so important. And I appreciate how you work on it, you know.
When we're done with them, there's not much left. I mean,
I hope to shot. Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Todd, you said something really interesting. You said you can't find any used trucks.
So, yeah, I'm looking more private sales right now, but like on the GSA auction, that's where we typically would buy a lot of our trucks. Steve Wolf, my former shop supervisor, was just great at that, and I've bought lots of auction vehicles. There is dump trucks out there. They're rust buckets. They're past the point of where I feel I wouldn't feel comfortable bringing those trucks to you. We can buy them through our used line, but there's just the good trucks people are holding on to because there's not a lot of new trucks available. And that's what I'm finding. I mean, I've reached out there, you know, and asked, is there any way we can do a better price? Can we get a quicker turnaround? And, I mean, for our F-550 truck for the drainage utility this year, the dealers won't even talk to us. They said, well, in June, we'll put you on a list and tell you if we have any trucks available.
My observation would be if you can't find any used trucks, it means no one's buying any new trucks. Because if you were going to buy a new truck,
well, they're
replacing something, you'd be putting a used one up on the market.
I would agree, but I think it's because they're holding on to the used truck because they can't find a new truck. I mean, this has taken a lot of work to hold this truck. So, I mean.
So they're not finding any new trucks, but yet this guy's calling you every 2 weeks.
Well, it's because we had put our name on it and told him we were hopeful. You know, he's sold to us. He's selling one to East Side Highway District. He does call to update me mainly on the price increases and just that, you know, he's a salesman. He wants to tell me that the price is going up, and I can appreciate that. But, yeah, I understand what you're saying, Dan, but I think it is the shortage of the new trucks. I mean, I know contractors that are having a hard time finding their new trucks.
Yes, Kiki.
Can I just follow up for clarity on what Christie asked, is that we're going to approve for you to sign the agreement to purchase this truck tonight, but then we'll go through the workshop to assign ARPA dollars to it, and if by chance we decide not to at the workshop, we already know that you can have the money out of fund balance, but that would have to come back to us for a decision. Is that right? Is that the process?
Yes, the budget, I mean, you're looking into the future, looking to tie up this truck, and we will assign whichever way the dollars should be appropriated at budget.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So I have a question for our attorney. Is this an obligation for next year's budget that we are setting right now?
It could be considered that, yes. So there would have to be a non-appropriation clause in the contract.
So basically, the message to council is you have to decide where the money's going to come from tonight.
No, I don't think you have to do
No?
that. You can authorize the signing of a contract with the standard non-appropriation clause that says that council has to appropriate the money. You then can appropriate the money at a later date prior to the due date of the funds.
Or we could just not pay, we get to use it for 30 days and then take it back. No one likes that? No? Okay.
That would make it difficult for the city to buy future trucks.
Good point, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve resolution number 22-022, approving the purchase of dump truck for the Streets and Engineering Department through
Second.
a future appropriation.
Is that right? Is that good?
And
Yes.
you got a second here? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk take, any further discussion? Seeing none,
I don't know, I'm kind of, I mean, for me, I know forecasting the economy is really difficult, and I do believe we're in a recession, a long recession. And I actually believe it's my prognostication that the prices are going to be dropping drastically over the next year. But I don't think that's a gamble I want to put on the public money. So it creates an interesting situation for me, because I would hate it if we bought this thing and all of a sudden we find out when it's finally delivered in January that they can't get rid of them at $180,000. So, but I don't want to take that gamble. Anyway, I'm good with it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
well, I think this issue brings up a bigger issue, though, is that we're incurring a substantial obligation in terms of our streets department when we're holding on to all this old equipment, because it's all going to fail without being replaceable even or repairable. And so as we talk about budget and as we look for other funding sources, we've got to face this issue head on. We can't kick it down the road any further. Clerk, take the roll, please.
Wood?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Miller?
Aye.
McEvers?
Yes.
Gookin?
Yep.
English?
Yes.
How about an adjournment motion?
Move to
Nope,
adjourn.
Nope. I want to stay here.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Opposed with nay.
Nay.
Motion carries.